It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll-free to join us here. If you want to get on the radio with us, you can talk about whatever happens to be on your mind. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. So jump into one of those. You'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio tonight as you join us to talk about whatever you want to discuss. So, of course, there's a lot in the news that we could be discussing here tonight. Your calls and thoughts are certainly welcome. On the way, we're going to be discussing the sanctuary gun counties, as I understand it. And Laurel,
Second Amendment sanctuaries.
Yeah, which is very, very interesting. Which I want to discuss because we touched on it previously when Sarah, actually from New Mexico, had called in to complain about this happening. She had complained that sheriffs across New Mexico, and she said like 29 out of 30 something. So
29 out of 30 counties?
Yeah,
sounds about right.
Super majority of them were refusing to enforce the new laws that the New Mexico legislature had put on the books. I don't remember exactly what they were. It might have been like the red flag thing or whatever the new gun control ideas were, old new ideas, were out in New Mexico. And she was frustrated because these sheriffs were refusing, like coming on the record, refusing to enforce these laws.
And this is happening all across the country.
That I did not know. That's what
Yes.
that's the new information that you've brought me tonight, is that this is a thing. It wasn't just a pushback in New Mexico. So you've been following this, Laurel?
It's basically an organized rebellion. A lot of newspapers are calling it a rebellion. And it is local sheriffs and local elected officials in counties. So far, some of the places where this is happening are Washington State, Oregon, Colorado, Illinois, New Mexico, North Carolina, and it's spreading. More and more places are starting to do this. And it's local police are basically, in a lot of cases, asking the people to put this to a vote to give them permission as the police not to enforce recently passed gun laws in their state. And it almost doesn't matter, which laws it is that they're protesting, because it's going to vary a little bit by state, and there's some red flag laws in a few places. They're not refusing to enforce all gun laws whatsoever, just the ones that they find more restrictive. For example, in some places, they've raised the age where you can own a firearm from 18 to 21. So in some of those places, the police are saying, we are not going to confiscate guns.
If we see somebody with a gun, we think they're
18,
under 21,
19, or 20. Yeah.
we're not going to ask them any questions.
Nope.
Okay.
They're saying they're not going to enforce it.
Well, I love this. I'm glad to see that it's happening, and glad to see that it's spreading. I mean, I wish it would have happened sooner and on other issues like, the war on drugs, for instance. But these sheriffs, a lot of them obviously understand the right to bear arms. Many of them, whereas maybe they don't understand other rights, like the right to bear plants, for instance. But regardless, it's good to hear it happening, and I think it's an interesting counterpoint, or if you want to even say counterpoint, it's also, I think, complementary to, in a way, to the sanctuary city for immigration purposes.
It's modeled after
counties.
that, and that's why they're calling them sanctuaries. They're modeling them after the immigration sanctuaries. So the thing that they have in common, even though one is more of a conservative, if you will, and the other is more of a leftist type of thing, the thing that they have in common is both of them are rebelling against over-centralization. They're saying, we want our laws at the local level. We want to do what we as our community want to do. So that's something that they
Or
have
at least
in
what
common.
the sheriff wants to do in that
Well,
case.
the communities are backing them up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, not all of them have had a vote on this, right?
Right.
This is just the sheriff. I mean, the sheriff's an elected position, so you could look at it from that perspective of, well, if the community doesn't like it, they can just boot this person out and put in somebody who is promising to enforce the laws.
Well, in a lot of these places, they are organizing this in advance of the new gun laws taking effect. So they're planning ahead, and
so the sheriffs are announcing, saying these laws are coming, but we're not going to enforce them?
They're announcing, please pass something so that we don't have to enforce it.
Please not pass it, because we're talking about new laws.
Well, they're asking the local city councils and the county government to please pass something or put it up to a local vote. So they're appealing to the local areas.
So you mentioned Washington State was one of the states where this is going on. And I'm guessing this is sort of like the rural pushback against the cities, essentially, yes. Because a lot of these laws that gun control laws, for instance, are going to come from the urbanized city areas where there's more lefty politicians. There's a higher percentage of anti-gun people who would vote. And, of course, those people tend to have a lot more sway just because of the population of those areas in state legislatures. So they're saying, look, we're not being represented in the state legislature. Exactly. We don't think it's fair. You're stepping on our rights. You city people, you can do whatever you want to do. But out here in the woods, which is probably the supermajority of Washington State, even though it wouldn't be the supermajority of the population necessarily of Washington State, saying this is our way of saying no. And I wonder who did this first. I mean, which sheriff really gets credit for being the first to kind of step out of line?
I'm not
here,
sure,
so
but I'm pretty sure that
Bradley tried this.
I'm pretty sure that
we wish
Washington, Oregon, New Mexico, and Illinois went first. So those are the first ones, and then other places are following suit.
So some of the least gun-friendly states.
Exactly.
Illinois is particularly bad.
So they have been communicating with each other. They've been sharing drafts of bills that they want passed in the local elections. So there's been a lot of organization behind it. This is not just everybody acting independently. Everybody wants to do it independently, but they are organizing with each other.
I mean, what's interesting is the name I brought up is the name of somebody who was, gunning to be sheriff at one point. I mean, he was just a local officer, right, as an activist, when he was an activist.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Brad Jardis.
Oh, Brad Jardis. No, Brad was
kind of an unfortunate story with his mental health, but...
Yeah, Brad was a 10, 11-year kind of veteran, if you will, of I think it was Epping, New Hampshire Police Department, so over close to Manchester. He was, by all indicators, a successful cop, right? Like he was a cop for 10 years. They didn't fire him. And he came out against the war on drugs as just an officer. I don't think he had attained any kind of rank, but came out against the war on drugs and was targeted by the other officers in the department for harassment, doing things like drawing pictures of him that were not flattering and, drawing things on his car at work. And ultimately they tried to get him dismissed, to get him fired from the department over this. The Liberty community came out to support him at that firing meeting where they have to have like a hearing that's open to the public to attend. I think the police had anti-Brad shirts on, I think, or like some kind of anti-rat shirt or something. I forget what there was like this intimidating shirt that one of the cops wore.
Real representative of the thin blue line before that became a big thing.
He had broken...
Yeah.
Well,
he had broken the thin blue line.
Right, he'd broken it, yeah. Well, I mean, that's been
that
a big
symbol,
thing.
that gang symbol that they've come up with since was not really a big gang symbol at the time.
Oh, no, that's been around for a long time. It's just you became conscious of it at a certain point.
Well, it began to become popular at a certain point.
No, it was you became conscious of it. So that symbol existed for much longer than we've been talking about it on Free Talk Live.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't on everybody's, in their dog's car, on the back of their car as a sticker.
I think it was. You just didn't notice.
All over. Dude,
the
it's
flags
so pervasive now.
The flags are new. I'll give you that. But,
well, I mean, it kind of became a flag and a sticker at the same time for the most part.
I don't think so. I think that's one of those things like where you get a new car and then all of a sudden you see it driving, that same model.
Yeah. When you're pregnant, everybody's pregnant.
Yeah, same thing. Once you see the thin blue line symbol, then all of a sudden you notice it everywhere because it's prolific.
I'm going to ask.
If you don't know what the thin blue line symbol is, it doesn't, it's not outstanding. It doesn't pop. It's blue. It's dark blue against a black background. Are you familiar with the symbol?
I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you saw it?
No.
Well, the reason why I brought him up is he had made this whole thing about the sheriffs being able to set laws and to be able to do that.
To be clear, the sheriffs are not doing this on their own. They are getting permission from the people.
So there was a spike in popularity in like 2015, 2016. I mean, it was not huge back when the trend started.
There's more coming up here. 855 450 free like freedom. It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. You dial toll-free if you want to join us here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Bitcoin.com is your premier source for everything Bitcoin-related, whether it's getting the latest news headlines or engaging with the community on the Bitcoin forum or playing games with your Bitcoin. You can do that over at Bitcoin.com. And I heard they're doing a revamp on their game section to expand the options that are already available. Bitcoin.com can also help you choose your Bitcoin wallet, buy Bitcoin, and show you where you can spend your Bitcoin. And if you're brand new to Bitcoin, there's no better place to go. They've got a Bitcoin Academy there. Bitcoin.com. It's it's a lot of it. All of not I'm going to say all the stuff because buying Bitcoin isn't free, but a whole lot of the site is free. So go and check it out at Bitcoin.com. Some good information there.
So Google kind of vindicated me a little bit here about this thin blue line thing.
Okay.
So the flag, according to trends.google.com, so I went in and I searched thin blue line first, and then I wasn't figuring that out, and then I realized, I need to probably search specifically for information about the thin blue line flag. And what I've realized from looking at those trends was that started to become a thing in 2014, but really didn't start spiking until the summer of 2016 when it started getting huge. So, and I would say, I'm totally with you. The thin blue line as a concept has been around since the movie Serpico, which is like 70s or something like that. But the actual, that symbol, that black field with the blue line on it, the graphic, didn't really start to become a thing until that flag started to become a thing. And then you started seeing the thin blue line everywhere.
Well,
I think the stickers started before the flag.
The stickers were many years before the flag. But they were things that they were worn by or put on their vehicles by family members of cops and cops. Yeah. And it's a little indicator that says, I'm one of you.
But before, it used to be more popular to put that Fraternal Order of Police sticker, which was a little shield.
That's right.
That used to be more popular than the thin blue line. That's kind of gone away, and now people are just going with the gang symbol. But I think, when we were talking to this guy who I'm talking about, this Brad Jardis, who was a police officer, I don't think that the thin blue line was as big of a deal because this is, we're talking about, around like 2010-ish, somewhere around there. And that's when I'm talking about him, and he was talking about this plan where he really had this belief that the sheriffs could, have massive influence over the law and that the sheriffs would be more likely to use their discretion.
Well, it's a common patriot belief, the idea of having the good patriot sheriff who actually uses his discretion and doesn't enforce bad laws.
Right.
And honestly, it would be nice to have more conscientious people.
What's the name of that old cop show? The
Which one? There's like 1,000.
No, the one that everybody talks about when they talk about it's like a 50s
Dragnet?
cop. Not Dragnet.
Is it a newer cop show?
No, it's not no, it's like a 50s cop show
from the 50s.
Yeah, and they always you're always naming when you're talking about the good cop. You normally name this one character from a show,
and it has Don Knotts in it.
Maybe.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't remember the name of the show though.
I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don Knotts, and the Mayberry was the town, right?
Yeah,
that was the name of the town.
Yes.
Of course, we're going to come up with all the details except for the name of the show.
Somebody has to call
at this point.
I wonder how many people put
Andy
that...
Griffith.
Andy Griffith.
There you go.
Yeah, Barney
Andy
Fife.
Griffith.
Yeah.
Barney Fife being the nice.
That was the sheriff, right?
I wonder how
sure.
many people put that sticker on their car just so they don't get pulled over.
It doesn't work.
You've tried it?
No, that's
I
just
can't
what
imagine you doing that.
No, that's just what they say. Is that it's become so popular to where the use of it is not going to get you out of anything.
I wonder what would happen if you took a picture of Don Knotts as Barney Fife and put that on the back of your car. What would happen?
I have no idea.
Officer, what seems to be the problem?
I don't know if I've ever seen that show.
How old are you that you watched that?
It was on Nick at Night.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know where we're going with all
I've
this.
seen Don Knotts and other things, Three's Company. I mean, come on.
Sure. Let's go back around to the story.
I wanted to say just how common this is becoming. According to a Reuters article, 63 counties or municipalities in Illinois have passed some form of firearms sanctuary resolution. 25 of New Mexico's 33 counties. In Oregon, voters in 8 counties, see again, these are the voters who are doing this. Voters in 8 counties approved Second Amendment prevention ordinances last November. And then I know, so here we have in Washington.
So there's 102 counties in Illinois. So that's more than half of the counties.
Yeah. And I know it's over 24 in Colorado. And then there's a whole lot in North Carolina. So this is really, really gaining a lot of momentum. I haven't seen in the articles anything clear that says who's organizing it, if they are. I know that they're speaking to each other. I have had a number of people tell me that it is Joey Gibson of Patriot Prayer who is doing a lot of the organizing or facilitating. I don't know whether
now, isn't Patriot Prayer a group that sort of responds to the Antifas in the Northwest?
Yes.
So like a conservative.
I'm sure they've made it onto SPLC's list, but I mean, so does everybody. I'm surprised you're not on the list.
I'm in an article about a state rep in New Hampshire. There's a state rep who is kind of like one of those outside the system, you don't need a driver's license to drive kind of state reps here in New Hampshire. He's a real character. His name is Dick Marple. If you ever want to see a pretty entertaining video, as an attorney, you'll probably be amazed by it. He goes into a court in Concord, district court, and literally spends 20-30 minutes shouting at the judge and doesn't get arrested for contempt. He's totally into like a lot of the conspiracy, like the courtroom conspiracy stuff. Like, have you heard the stuff like where if you don't cross the bar, then you haven't consented to the jurisdiction of the court? Have you ever heard of those theories as an attorney? Yeah, so he totally like buys into that kind of stuff, and so it's fun to watch somebody actually try to put those theories into motion and see what happens, because I was there with a video camera to record it, and it's super entertaining. I think that video's got over 500,000 views on YouTube at this point. Yeah.
You have to show that to me.
When do you think they teach those things in law school? That no one seems to know about.
Right. She didn't know about it.
Yeah. The little secret stuff. Well, maybe I know it. I'm just pretending.
Well, no, the claim is that only some people know.
Right.
So like the higher ups.
Oh, so I'm not cool enough.
The judges and, those folks.
You haven't yet reached the seventh circle of the Illuminati that tells you about the fringe on the flag.
You haven't been inducted, I guess, into whatever cult they're talking about. But he's a real character, and I think SLPC or SCLP or whatever they are, the
SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center.
They wrote an article about Dick Marple, and I got a mention in that. So I guess technically I am on that side.
You are somebody if the SPLC hates you.
Finally, I've made it.
You got your hit piece.
So some people obviously are upset about these sanctuary counties.
Well, because it's local people saying, you know what? We're just not going to follow your laws. They're saying it to their
the legislature.
The state legislature. Say, you know what? We don't like it, and we're just not going to do it.
Great. I love it. I wish we had more of that. And maybe this will be the beginning of more of it, perhaps. I hope this isn't just a one-issue one-off thing.
You think, the immigration sanctuaries have been around for a while, but I think
a few years at least. Yeah.
That's kind of the point. They've been around since the 80s.
Oh, really?
So it took decades for that to gain acceptance. This Second Amendment sanctuary movement is happening very, very
much
fast.
faster.
And I think that says a lot.
All right, there's more on the way. If you want to comment, you're welcome to join us. If you're in Washington or New Mexico or one of these places where this might be some controversy and you want to weigh in, feel free. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Coming up, Joe Biden on the way. It's Free Talk Live.
The Bitcoin.com wallet is a simple and powerful full-featured wallet that allows you to send and receive Bitcoin, BTC, and Bitcoin Cash, BCH, with anyone, anywhere in the world. It supports both single and multi-signature wallets and is available in multiple languages. The Bitcoin.com wallet is available on Windows, Linux, Mac, Android, and iOS devices. Use the Bitcoin.com wallet to buy, send, store, and receive both Bitcoin, BTC, and Bitcoin Cash, BCH. Learn more at wallet.bitcoin.com. That's wallet.bitcoin.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll-free to join us right here. Our number's 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Fork Fest 2019 is coming up in less than 3 months, June 13th through the 18th. It's going to be at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. It's a great excuse to come and check out New Hampshire and see what it's like up here, and see what it's most importantly like being around people who actually agree with you on a lot of stuff, like freedom. The freedom to live your life how you want, whether you're into guns or pot or whatever it is that your thing is, or both. I suspect they will be in, available supply at the Forkfest. You go to forkfest.party to learn more about it. And again, it's June 13th through the 18th. Beautiful place to go. Rogers Campground is spectacular. Laurel, have you ever been up there? I know you're newish to New Hampshire. Well, if you get the chance, get out there because it's a spectacular view and the people are, of course, even better. That's the real reason to go, is to connect with the community that if you make the move here as part of the libertarian migration to New Hampshire, these will be your neighbors in the future. So it's a good excuse to meet your future neighbors if you're planning to move up here. Or if you're considering a move and you're not sure, you're sitting on the fence, this is a great excuse to check out New Hampshire and see what all the buzz is about. See if the things that we've said about the amazing community of liberty-minded folks up here, whether they call themselves libertarians or anarchists or voluntarists, to see that they're real.
Well, just everybody in New Hampshire has been fantastic.
Oh, sure.
If you move here, you will have nice neighbors, I promise.
You came from?
I came from Philadelphia, so
okay.
The bar was pretty low, I have to admit.
Gotcha. So check it out at forkfest.party. There's a Telegram chat and the Forkfest forum there. And by the way, the one thing that you need to know is there are no tickets for Forkfest. There's no central committee. There's nobody who decides what's going to happen except for each individual. So you get to decide. You want to just come up and camp and hang out with other liberty-minded folks? You can do that. That's easy. Do you want to create something for those campers to do? Do you want to, put on a speaker series or a musical event or a poker game or a play? I don't know, whatever it is that you feel like people would enjoy. You can do that. But you just have to figure out where and when. Your campsite, presumably. Although I think the campground will rent you the pavilion, if you want to put something big on. That's up to you. Forkfest.party. Head on over there to learn more about it. Let's go to Matthew in Louisiana. You're on Free Talk Live. We've been talking about the sanctuary sheriffs, basically. These sheriffs who have, and I guess in some cases with the approval of voters.
Basically all of them. They are going to their local legislature.
Really? Okay.
In the
so, all I had before this was Sarah in New Mexico, who may not have had all the facts present. Mm-hmm. She just made it sound like the sheriffs were just doing it, which I'm fine with that too. Like, to me, it doesn't matter. If a sheriff says this law is unconstitutional, I'm not going to enforce it. I don't think they need the opinion of the voters in that case. I think they should just be able to say, nope, not going to do it. As a sort of a final check and balance on this messed up system that we have. The more checks and balances on an out-of-control government, the better, whether it be the voters who are a check or the jurors. Jury nullification, of course, is the classic final check where if the cops are enforcing a bad law, the jury can let somebody off of it by voting not guilty. But this, having a sheriff in there, prevents that from ever having to happen because then the law just won't be enforced in the first place. And if the voters don't like it, they can just vote the sheriff out the next time around. So there's always going to be a vote in the case of a sheriff. I don't think there are appointed sheriffs out there, are there?
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, Matthew, you're on Free Talk Live.
So, Laurel, are you familiar with the concept of incorporated rights?
And not off the top of my head. Why don't you refresh my memory?
Okay. According to Alan Gura, the Second Amendment Foundation, what these are rights that are incorporated under the 14th Amendment. They are granted to all citizens of the United States. And the Heller and the McDonald decision basically incorporated the right to own a firearm. Judge Thomas doesn't think they went far enough, but nonetheless, that became an incorporated right. Now, there is no right to immigrate to the United States. That is a privilege that we, the United States, grant people under certain conditions. And that's why the sanctuary city policy is, under the supremacy clause of the Constitution, somewhat problematic.
Yes. I mean, you're describing why the immigration sanctuaries are different from the Second Amendment sanctuaries. And I think that what you're describing is an important distinction.
I'm not clear on this. What are you saying about
It's basically that the Second Amendment sanctuaries, we're talking about a constitutional right. Whereas for the immigration sanctuaries,
you have the right to travel.
No,
the right to liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if the pursuit of happiness,
that is actually in the Declaration of Independence. And believe me, I wish that they would pay more attention to the pursuit of happiness.
But the
thing,
federal government
because,
isn't authorized to control immigration, only naturalization.
It's inherent in
actual-
sovereignty. It was the Supreme Court that said it's inherent in the sovereignty of the nation.
Okay, but it's not constitutional.
It's not described in the Constitution, no.
Also, happiness
but
doesn't have an objective definition, so therefore the government determines what happiness is, and you have to be happy
Well, I'm
according
determining
to
what happiness is.
Their standards.
I don't care what they think.
The Happiness Commission.
As
In
far as I'm
fact.
concerned, if a sheriff says he wants people to be able to be free to come, if a sheriff says he wants people to be free to come into that plot of land, and he's not going to assist the federal government in enforcing their stupid laws against those folks, I think that's a smart and heroic thing to do. Good for them.
Well, I am positive in them standing up for our right to keep and bear arms. Now, how long this is going to last, and what the form this is going to take, I don't know. But I'm also looking at. It was brought up yesterday that in New Jersey they still haven't confiscated a single magazine. The state police are still looking at the politicians saying, and okay, we're still not going to do
So are the
this.
police saying, gee, we can't find any. Just can't.
No,
We're
they're
looking, but...
They're just saying, no, we're not going to do it.
Uh-huh.
We don't feel like turning ourselves into an absolute enemy of the people.
Did they ban
People are already not
magazines of a certain
popular.
size or
Are you
something?
talking about bump stocks?
No, magazine.
Okay.
What did they ban, like
30
30-round magazines or something like that? What did they do?
Anything above 10.
Okay, got it. Didn't California's Supreme Court or the Ninth Circuit or something just overturn California's ban on 30?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They said, no, a magazine is in essence a firearm. And I was like, well, that's kind of unique, but I'll take it.
Huh. Well, that's good news, I guess. Anything else,
that's
Matthew?
all I have for now.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
the call.
Let's go to Dave in New Hampshire. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live. Our toll-free number, by the way, if you want to dial in to join us here, it's 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Dave, go ahead.
If I'd called you guys about this yesterday, you would have accused me of making an April Fool's joke. I had to research this so closely yesterday to make sure it wasn't someone else's April Fool's joke before making any calls about it. It's that crazy.
What is it?
So you're aware with what happened to Japanese Americans after they started registering them.
Mm-hmm.
They rounded them up and put them in camps in the early 40s during World War. Was it late 30s, early 40s, somewhere in that range?
Early 40s.
Yeah.
Of course, they're trying to want to get you to register your guns, which is also it's not very good for guns or for the people who own them. Well, guess what they're trying to register now with a bill in New Hampshire?
Oh no! What?
You'll never guess. Disabled people.
Oh, you have to register disabled people.
And what's the purpose of that?
Now, not all disabled people, specifically deaf people.
Why?
Well, yeah, does it matter what the purpose is if they're trying to register you?
Well, it's creepy. I'm just wondering what there's always an excuse for these things, and I'm wondering what the official line is. Right. Why do we need to have a deaf registry? Hang on, Dave, if you want to continue the discussion. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Is it so they can put up those signs on the side of the road, sometimes where you drive through a neighborhood and there's like a yellow sign, deaf child?
Uh-huh. Deaf child area.
I think that's what I've seen. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. This is Free Talk Live. We've got more coming up. It's Free Talk Live. You bring up whatever you want. Take control of the airwaves here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. Coming up, the Joe Biden controversy. I don't think we've really discussed it here on Free Talk Live. And Johnson, it's something you want to talk about tonight. Sure. It's Ian, Laurel, and Johnson in the studio with you. And, of course, you're invited to join us also on our Discord on-air call-in lines, which are open and available to you over at discord.lrn.fm. So head on over there and get interactive. We've got listeners in that chat room. There's a bunch of chat rooms on our Discord server. They're there 24 hours a day, basically. So check that out. Lots of the co-hosts, including me, we spend some time there as well. In fact, I'm in there pretty much every day. go to discord.lrn.fm. But again, the first 4 rooms that you'll see on the list are call-in line rooms that'll allow you to sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. Let's go back to your calls and thoughts. Dave is in New Hampshire. You were talking about some legislation that I guess has been proposed. I don't know what its current status is. It's the first I've heard of it, where you're saying that some of the people in the legislature would like to create a registry for, was it all deaf people or just deaf children?
I looked at the bill. I haven't read any of the propaganda surrounding the bill very closely, but I didn't see anything in the bill that indicated you'd have to register. So that's possibly a good thing. But like I said, I could have missed that.
Does the bill say anything about its intentions? Like, what was the reason? Why did they want to do this?
No, bills normally don't say, because we need to fix this problem, here is the text. It doesn't work like that when you read a bill.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes it's like, whereas, da-da-da-da-da, whereas, this and that, and they kind of lay it out. But so you're not clear on this. There's just some state rep wants to create a state-run registry for deaf people.
Yeah, it looked like 2 or maybe 3 Democrat state reps, and it's House Bill 487.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just don't know that much about it. I think it gets a hearing tomorrow, the 3rd. And if you go to nhliberty.org, you can figure out how to email the reps if you live in New Hampshire.
Huh. So, I mean, you're just sort of opposing this on principle of we don't need – the more registries that we have, the worse off people are going to be, because whenever the government has information, they generally don't use it for people's benefit.
Well, to know whether or not you should be against the government bill, you just need to know whether it costs money.
And every bill in New Hampshire is given a financial note as far as what those bills would cost. And so it looks like this would cost on approximately $80,000 to $90,000 a year.
Wow.
To administer this particular program.
But this is the kind of thing you would normally think, this would put people would be a huge outcry. People would be coming out in droves to make sure they're not being registered like the Japanese before the concentration camps, but so far I haven't heard that much. I saw something on libertyblock.com or libertyblock.org about it, but so far I haven't seen much outcry, so I'm trying to create a little.
Yeah, it's creepy. I am looking at the proposed law here, and it does say that physicians and other licensed or certified healthcare provider who's qualified by training to make the diagnosis, who then makes the diagnosis, shall report all new cases of this diagnosis to the department in a form and manner prescribed by the commissioner. So it is a requirement upon the medical community, doctors essentially, whoever
Sounds
it
like
is.
a HIPAA violation. It's people's private medical information.
Well, it says the code shall not include the name or address of the person.
Well, then is it a registry?
Oh, wait, no, never mind. No, it does say the report shall be in writing and shall include the name and address of the person. It's just the code within the department, I guess, won't. So, yeah, this could very well be a HIPAA violation, which may be a way to overturn this if it actually does get passed.
Right? Yeah.
So there you go, Dave. Thanks for the call tonight. That's Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com. And speak of the devil, here she is, Sarah in New Mexico.
Hey, Sarah.
We were just talking about you, Sarah, and this sanctuary gun thing that you had actually turned us on to. Several weeks ago, she called about this. She was all in she was flustered. The sheriffs across New Mexico have been refusing to enforce these new gun laws that they've passed there. And Sarah, had you heard? I know you. I don't know if you're listening live these days now that we're live in Albuquerque there, but did you hear that there are other states where this is spread to?
Well, the sanctuary is a part of like the rural. See, the rural state, they have to have guns to shoot down bears. They have wolves that attack the chicken cooch. They have to hunt.
So you aren't opposed to rural people having guns?
Well, but I could understand their point of view. You know, why the limiting their access is. So that actually, I could understand why the rural people. Those are the rural sheriffs that are for the sanctuary.
Well,
But it's a city.
isn't most of New Mexico rural?
Yeah, 30 out of, 29 or 30 out of the 30-something counties there have...
I mean, really, let's be honest. Even your cities are rural. Come on.
I mean, Albuquerque's
No,
not
that's what I'm talking about.
rural.
We have this gun culture for the last 100 years here in New Mexico because the whole state was rural.
Mm-hmm.
The whole state was just a cow farm. I mean, there was no such thing as city. But now we've got problems because the cities are becoming populated.
I mean, Albuquerque's more than 500,000 in the downtown or metro or whatever. So that's pretty big.
All I know is Bugs Bunny used to always make a wrong turn there.
Right.
This is one of those differences of perspective. You know, you're living in New Hampshire
Should have put down the blue meth.
versus living in Philadelphia. To me, 500,000,
But look, Sarah, so what you're saying is you can understand why people in rural areas need guns to defend against bears and wolves. But could you also see that maybe somebody in a city might need a gun to defend against a crackhead that's crawling through their window with a machete in the middle of the night?
There's probably more people attacked by crackheads than people attacked by bears.
Most likely.
Well, the thing about it is that it's the opposite way here. I feel like the more guns that they'll use it against the homeowners, and the car thieves will shoot the people that come out and.
See, here's the thing you're missing, Sarah. When people are criminals and they're willing to break the law because it's illegal to put a gun in your face if you're sitting at a stop. You know, if you're sitting at a stoplight in a car as a driver, it's illegal to walk up and tell that person they got to get out of their car so that the person who wants the car can just steal it. That's called carjacking, and, you know, it's highly illegal. So whether that person has a knife in their hand or a gun in their hand or a taser or whatever weapon it is they've chosen, that person is already willing to break the law and risk felony charges to try to steal your car. So what makes you think that they're going to respect the other law that you want to see enforced on guns? Why would a person who's willing to risk felony charges not acquire a gun to take that risk?
You know what? I actually called in about...
That's fine. You don't have to answer the question. Your silence is enough. Go ahead. What were you calling about tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I actually called in about how I like Circle K, and Circle K was going to expand their stores, and you throw me this calculus big giant question.
Calculus question?
It's because you called about it before. Well, Sarah, when I got here tonight, and I said that I wanted to talk about these sanctuary cities for guns, they said, hey, Sarah called about that. So we were all hoping that you would call in so we could talk about it because you had brought it up before. You knew before they did, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah, she filled us in on this weeks before you brought the story to the table. So it's fine, Sarah, if you want to talk about Circle K. I mean, you know, I've actually been to one recently. They have them down in Mexico.
Well, the thing is, Circle K, they're expanding their store, and most of as we know, most of the stores have been closing all over the country.
I didn't know that.
Toys R Us.
Did you guys know Circle K has been closing their stores?
Yeah, I grew up in South Jersey, and we didn't have it. So
no Circle K's down there?
Nope.
Okay.
Never really paid attention.
No.
Circle K's is kind of like unremarkable as far as convenience stores go. Like, they never had the Slurpee. All they had was the Big Gulp. I think Circle K originated the Big Gulp, if I'm not mistaken.
They did have Bill and Ted's Big Adventure, because they said strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Really? I haven't seen that movie in years.
At the Circle K.
You know, they're making a sequel, right?
Okay.
No. Like, they're expanding. They're expanding their store.
They're expanding. They're not shutting down.
Wait, you can't have it both ways. Are they shutting down or are they expanding? Because you said they were shutting down.
Expanding. So I said that all the other businesses are. I said most of the other businesses are shutting down. They're expanding their stores. That's why
I see.
I'm making the point of it.
I misunderstood. So what is it that the Circle K is doing right compared to other convenience stores?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. What is it about Circle K that they're hiring more people?
It's a mystery that I don't know if we'll ever solve. Thanks for the call, Sarah.
I have one for Sarah. If the typical stopping distance of the vehicles are separated by the 2-second rule, what is the flow rate R1, and what would be the maximum minimum flow rate required to be when it does occur?
Is this an actual calculus question? 855-450, free like freedom.
But
That's
it's in her area of interest.
855-450-3733. Hour 2's next. You dial toll free and join us on Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar. and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agoristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agorist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agoristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agoristhosting.com.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. So hop into one of those. You want to get on the air with us in the studio with you. It's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Johnson.
I have to correct my error. I was corrected by one of the chatters in the Discord server in the On Air Now room. Apparently, the Big Gulp, I misremembered, is actually a 7-Eleven product, not a Circle K product, which is what we were discussing before, because Sarah had called in saying that Circle K was expanding, and I was just openly commenting, like, are they even noteworthy for anything? Did they ever do anything that made them stand out amongst all the other convenience stores out there? And I thought it was the Big Gulp, but that was 7-Eleven. So.
I do have to mention something because I Google things when we're talking about stories and whatnot. And while we were talking about that, we made the joke about the the Bugs Bunny always making the wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Right.
So I just threw that phrase into Google and found this amazingly ironically titled news story, because how the goofy news always titles their stories. Titled this one "Wrong Turn at Albuquerque," about. Apparently in 2016, hidden amongst shipments of carrots across the border from Mexico, they were wrapping in, like, it looks like some sort of maybe like orange electrical tape and saran wrap. Basically, these carrot-shaped packages of marijuana hidden among, like tons of carrots. Every so often, they would throw in these marijuana carrots.
Right. I wonder what's in the avocados.
And apparently, they at one point they stopped, something like over a ton of marijuana worth out of these carrot shipments. So I thought that was a pretty amazing story from the summer of 2016.
Let's go to your calls and thoughts. Coming up, you've got a story also, Johnson, about Joe Biden.
Creepy Uncle Joe.
Some people are saying he's a creep. Others are saying he's a creep, but it's okay. But it's okay that he's creepy because he's a Democrat. So it's fine. Let's go to Robert. I don't know if it's Robert. It's R in Florida. R calling from Florida. You're on Free Talk Live, watching online on YouTube.
Oh, well, you guessed my name, Ian, but let's say Reviler. Hello.
Oh, that's actually your name? All right.
Yeah, it actually is. I kind of doxed myself. Look, I'm screwed up off whiskey, and I don't have much time. But I want to say, man, I gave you props.
You're screwed up off what?
Whiskey.
Whiskey,
oh, okay.
Jim Beam, honey.
Gotcha.
Jim Beam.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm like a southern biatch, Look, man, I give you guys big props for being one of the few internet/radio stations still around in 2019 that actually cares about anti-statism and differing points of view. For instance, what I want to talk about is the disgusting transgender destruction of our children with this garbage and the garbage bags at the top of a certain tribe that we're not allowed to talk about the profit off of it.
What are the transgenders doing to destroy people's children?
Okay, so what they're doing, not all of them overall. You have some good people like Aria DeMezzo and some others, for instance, right? But what you have overall is a colluded effort of those to try to subvert biology, just like they've subverted race, just like they've subverted nationalistic identity, and they tell kids, oh, if you feel like a girl even at 3 years old, that's fine, be a girl, as low IQ, browner scum are imported by elitist certain nosed buttholes that we're not allowed to mention to destroy us and subvert us as white people and Europeans.
That sounds like some really paranoid garbage.
Well, it's really true, Mr. Ian. I mean, that's one thing with Cantwell. I'm not a big fan of his anymore either, as you know, but he is right about a lot of that, and he was not a racist and raised in a very multicultural home, just as I was as well, sir.
So you've become a racist, is what you're saying. Because you believe it's the right thing to do.
I have become a racist. I have become a racist because I've realized that people that look like you and me and a lot of us, Laurel or whatever her name is, she seems like a nice girl. She can never spell her YouTube, so I can never find her freaking YouTube, which is annoying.
Is it that hard to spell Laurel C. Scott? I think that's what it is,
no,
right?
it's
I didn't know. Okay.
Just put in there Laurel Immigration and you'll find it.
Okay.
Oh, I'll find it. Look, I'll get off. But the point is that these people, listen, again, and I'm a genderqueer individual myself. I'm the genderqueer Nazi, as you all know me as, even though I'm not a socialist, right? The point is, why can people not just feel feminine or be feminine and express themselves without taking drugs, without going on board along the Kalergi plan, without going on board along, destroy whites? Why do they need surgery to mutilate their genitalia? That's all.
There's a lot that you've just said, then I don't really know where to start with it. I mean, if somebody wants to put drugs in their own body, then who am I to say that they're right or wrong about that?
In my sectarian monarchist state, there could be a certain amount of blacks, a certain amount of transgenders, a certain amount of Jays even allowed, right? But if they start to subvert and destroy people, as George Lincoln Rockwell, great man, said, then they need to be, maybe get the wood chipper treatment like the communist scum. But the point is, you could be genderqueer or gender variant without...
Why would any of those people want to go into your community anyway? I mean, it doesn't sound like a real friendly place. Yeah. Oh, you crossed the wrong person and you end up in a wood chipper. That's lovely.
No, Ian, it's more than crossing the wrong person, darling. It's destroying.
Well, didn't you say it was a monarchy, so therefore you would be in charge, right? Or some king?
No, not me. Yes, a king or a queen.
Some king god, right? So you cross the king.
Yes, sir.
Or one of the king's men.
Yes, sir.
You go in the wood chipper.
But they'd have a council. But they'd have a council.
Oh, that makes it all okay.
See, the council voted.
The council voted to throw you in the wood chipper, so it's fine.
Yeah, I guess it's a somewhat democratic thing on a small level, but you can't give low IQ scum the look. I love you guys. What you do?
What do you have against low IQ people?
I have it. Okay,
the world.
There's less empathy with low IQ people, as Charles Murray and them have found as well, Mr. Ian. There are some good low IQ people out there, like autistic and mentally challenged, or what we would call retarded people, who are very good people, who are more useful than some of the scum on welfare, white or not. But you know what I don't like? I don't like seeing people that look like us and our parents and our family that took care of us and did well for us, all right, in the straight traditionalist cis lifestyle being destroyed by Zionist pieces of feces. That's what I don't like, sir.
That was a lot.
He just hates so much. It's hard to unpack it all. Thanks for the call.
At least you're very confident in your worldview.
That much he is.
I was waving because I thought he was signing off.
He is gone. The toll-free number is 855-4FIT for now, 855-450-3733. But unfortunately, there are people like him in the world, as confused as he appears to be, because he's got the strange viewpoint of being a racist and wanting to live in this racial whatever monarchy or whatever he'd said there, what was it, sectarian monarchy or something like that, sectarian racist monarchy, but yet he thinks that he's going to be fine even though he's genderqueer.
Right.
he's going to avoid the wood chipper.
He'll get very comfortable with that wood chipper.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. We continue, and we'll take your calls and thoughts about whatever you want. Johnson, since we're talking about sexy things, let's talk about Joe Biden.
I don't know that I'm going to have to agree with you on that. But so the story here from Reason is several women have accused former President Joe Biden, a likely 2020 contender, of inappropriate physical conduct. One of these women, Lucy Flores, a former candidate for lieutenant governor of Nevada.
Presumably these are Democrat women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Writes that Biden smelled her hair and kissed her on the back of the head during a campaign stop in 2014. Another woman, Amy Lapos, says Biden put his hands on her head and pulled her closer during a 2009 political fundraiser. He's very touchy.
Yeah, well, there's lots and lots of footage of him doing things exactly like that.
Yeah, you can just look up
creepy
Joe
Uncle
Biden
Joe.
creepy pictures, on Google image search.
And doesn't he do it to, like, children as well?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's a picture of him kissing, like, a little boy on the lips, and it's like, what is
What? I'll
going
have to look
on
that one
here?
I mean, there are some families where that happens,
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I'm suspecting he wasn't a family member.
I don't know if he was or not. It just is, it's definitely
Now, if it's
bizarre.
somebody that you know and you know that this is okay, because
Mark
of the
says he does that with his
relationship you
kid.
have,
Yeah, I mean, it's a family member. There's no.
Well, everything that's going on. If it's somebody that you know really
Mm-hmm.
well, and you know that this is the relationship you have, that's fine. But in a lot of the footage of him doing these types of things, these are women he doesn't know.
He's meeting for the first time.
Right, he's meeting for the first time. There's no way he could have gotten consent.
Right, and there's a lot of pictures where it's like you can tell that the look on the person's face is like
creeped out.
Yeah.
Creeped out.
We got more. You're going to tell us about it coming up here, Johnson. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And this, of course, is one of the more amusing parts of the primaries where the Democrats, and the Republicans attack one another. And so that's kind of fun to watch. 855-450-FREE. Like freedom. You can join us, hear your comments on Creepy Uncle Joe. It's Free Talk. It is Free Talk Live. You can take control of the airwaves here. Bring up whatever is on your mind. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. Liberty.menu is for individuals who reject the initiation of force and who agree to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle. If that describes you, then you ought to be over there at liberty.menu. It is basically a directory for events, businesses, and digital content creators, people who have a thing that they want other liberty-minded folks to know about. So if it's your business, you put your business up there, you show up on the map, other people who care about freedom can find you, and maybe you'll get some new business as a result of doing that. And it's free to do it, so you might as well be there. Unless you don't want people to know that you care about freedom, go to liberty.menu and you can get started there. And again, it's totally free. If you got more than one business, put more than one entry in. It's free. So liberty.menu, and you can use code FTL, not for a discount because, again, the site's free. But that will get you a special Free Talk Live listener badge on your user profile. It's liberty.menu. We are sharing with you, Johnson, you've got some opinions, a story, or whatever it is on this Joe Biden creepy factor, which has kind of been floating around for the last couple of years. I remember seeing, here and there a report on Joe Biden being, unusually creepy for a politician.
He's been creepy for a while, but it's really just people are talking about it more now.
I mean, I find all politicians to be gross and despicable.
They're all very creepy.
Yeah,
they want to run your life.
Exactly. And
they want to get very involved in personal aspects of your life.
This guy's just, being a little more intimate, I guess, than your typical politician feels comfortable doing. And he's been caught on video and photographic evidence of him doing this for people of all ages. He doesn't seem to discriminate in that way. He's targeting elderly women. He's targeting children.
Men.
Apparently, cops. There's one of him gripping the knee or putting his hand on the leg of a fairly large police officer sitting in an audience, and the cops looking very confused, possibly angry about
and as well as the cop behind him also what is going on?
So you go ahead, Johnson. I'm not sure where we were with this or what story or what.
Sure. So it says the article here goes on. Let me make sure I'm.
And just to go on before you do that, what I was saying right before we went to break was this is part of the entertainment of the primary process. Not that I really pay too much attention, but in talk radio we encounter some of the the primary drama here. I don't like politicians. I had a guy actually working here in the studio installing a new air conditioner because finally we've got the squealy old air conditioner out of the studio, which I should have done it a few years ago, but finally got around to it. And, he'd never seen the studio before, didn't know what was going on here, and he asked if we'd interviewed any of the presidential candidates, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to talk to those scum. That's basically what I said to the guy.
You had presidential candidate Darryl W. Perry on frequently.
Well, he was a co-host of the show, and certainly that wasn't what he meant.
Yeah.
But then
that's how you should have answered, though.
You had Ron Paul on once, though, didn't you?
We did, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Was he even a presidential candidate at that point?
He's run a couple of times, just maybe not at the time. I don't know.
I don't remember what year it was that we had him on, but I did actually mention to him that we'd had Ron Paul on because I'd explained to him that it's a libertarian show, and he actually kind of brightened up at that. So he was actually glad to hear that it was a libertarian show.
Did you ever interview Harry Brown?
Yes, but not on Free Talk Live.
Oh, interesting.
I interviewed Harry Brown on the local radio stations that I was a disc jockey on.
Right, awesome.
I don't think I have a copy of it, though. That's the sad part. Yeah. So anyway, the entertainment of seeing these politicians eat each other alive. I enjoy seeing the state attack itself. Because then they're spending their resources attacking each other rather than us, and so I do enjoy that.
Maybe you could contact one of the stations in Florida and see if they have it on one of those cart tapes for the old cart machine.
I don't think so. I think those are long gone, and no, I don't think I would have recorded it to a cart anyway. Those are short-term things. Anyway, so it's nice to see the politicians attacking one another. This is obviously something that his opponents can go after him on, and they're going to feel like they should, because I've heard that the polls are showing, or that I haven't seen the poll, but I heard that he was leading a poll of Democrats.
Is he really?
At some point. So if he's the top dog, they're going to try their damnedest to take him down, right?
Now, Johnson, I think you said before that he's the one you would never vote for.
Yeah.
Why is that? It's not because he's creepy.
No, it's because he's responsible for the Rave Act is one of the largest reasons. But he's been responsible for some other really, really awful laws.
The Rave Act, which came around in the early aughts, that threatened dance
property owners, anyone who basically hosts any kind of a music festival. So if you're a landowner and you want to have a music festival, like, say, Woodstock, on your private land, they will take your land from you because there might be drugs present at your unsanctioned, unregulated event, and they will send in SWAT. And I mean, there was this an event in Ohio that we covered many years ago where there's just video of them just beating on ravers. They had SWAT.
Was it Ohio or the Utah rave?
Oh, was it Utah? Oh, maybe it was Utah.
The one that was outdoor where they had the helicopter come in?
Yeah, they had helicopters come in and they had SWAT dropping out of helicopters to storm in and start tear gassing and just beating the hell out of these peaceful dancers.
And it was in the middle of nowhere, too. Yeah. It was they held it purposefully, in the mountains out in the middle of Utah.
And then you have people who are tripping saying, "Do you see that? Do you see what I see? Is this happening?"
It was real and horrible. Yeah, we talked about that a long time ago on Free Talk Live. Yeah. That was back in the Florida days of this show.
Yep.
We talked about that.
Yeah, and there's some other things, but
he's a bad man. Bad man.
Yeah, very.
This is one of the there's so many downsides of politics, but this is one of them, is that the impression a person gives, things like, is he creepy, end up being more important than what are his policies.
Right.
But that's how it goes. That's how it works.
Because people can't seem to pay attention to.
Well, all of their policies are awful. I mean, they're politicians, so all they argue over is how to control people and how to spend their money and extract obedience from them.
But you like Ron Paul, right?
And he's a politician. One exception to the rule. Ron Paul is
not all
of
politicians.
Yeah, I will make an exception for Ron Paul, but he's now gone. So of the 535 that remain in Washington, D.C.,
what about his son, Rand?
They're awful, and he's nowhere near as good as Ron Paul. He's not even, if you call Rand Paul a libertarian, he will rebuff you on it, and he will claim he's not a libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some people who believe he's secretly an anarchist, but there's no evidence for it. It's just what they want to believe about him.
Yeah. So to continue on here, it says here that these and other accusations lend credence to the media caricature of Joe Biden as creepy Uncle Joe, an idea the former Veep's critics on both the left and the right have been eager to popularize. The Me Too movement has made the public more attuned to sexual misconduct and warier about powerful men in government, media, and entertainment who stand accused of wrongdoing. Biden's reputation as a man who is overly familiar with women could hurt his campaign for the presidency, though anyone who thinks this is guaranteed to doom him should be gently reminded that the current president is Donald Trump.
Yeah, but he's on the right, and it's who are they going to run from within their own party?
Right.
Well, it's a good point, though. I mean, the information about Donald Trump and his sexual proclivities and rudeness and such certainly came out during the campaign.
Has been overcome.
Yeah.
But they have a different base.
True, but I don't think most people are going to support openly the things that Biden or Trump were doing.
No, they're not
just going to look past it, is what they're going to do. There's more coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS Paris.com.
Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, and bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. Like freedom, that's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. You head over to discord.lrn.fm. Jump into any one of those. There are 4 of the rooms right at the top of the chat room list. And we will see you in there. Join you, and we'll give you a quick mic check, make sure everything's working all right with you off the air. And then we'll get you on with us. You'll sound almost like you're sitting in the studio with me, Ian.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Johnson.
Johnson is telling us about the latest on the creepy Joe Biden controversy that is getting more attention now because he's been talking about it. And I don't think he's officially thrown in his hat, at least not the last that I'd heard. But he's expected, as I understand it, to throw in to the Democratic primary for president, which means that the other candidates have a strong interest in targeting him.
I think he's too old. He's 76.
Well, wasn't Trump like 74 or something like that? Trump's pretty old, too. There's no maximum age to run for president. You just have to be at least 35 years old. Trump's one of the old. I believe Trump is one of the oldest presidents we've ever had, if I'm not mistaken on that. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm looking it up.
The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. So, Johnson, what else do we need to know about this creeper?
So, again, we mentioned the Donald Trump being president sort of thing, and that this kind of...
meaning that voters can overlook this sort of thing.
Trump is 72 right now, by the way.
Okay.
So it says, at the same time, it's important to not mischaracterize matters. Some forms of Me Too advocacy has eroded careful distinctions, particularly on college campuses. For instance, one of the viral images most associated with the creepy Uncle Joe headline is a picture of Joe Biden rubbing the shoulders of Stephanie Carter while her husband, Ashton Carter, was sworn in as Secretary of Defense. But as she explains in a recent Medium post, after the picture started making the rounds again, it does not depict a Me Too violation. Biden's contact with Carter was welcome and consensual. Carter had slipped and fallen on some ice just before the ceremony, she writes, and the incident had left her shaken. By the time then Vice President Biden had arrived, he could sense I was uncharacteristically nervous and quickly gave me a hug. He leaned in to tell me thank you for letting him do this, and kept his hands on my shoulders as a means of offering his support. But a still shot taken from the video, misleadingly extracted from what was a longer moment between close friends, sent out in a snarky tweet, came to be the lasting image of that day.
Mm-hmm.
In that context, Biden's touching of Carter wasn't inappropriate. It wasn't inappropriate because the sole person with the authority to judge that, Carter, says that it wasn't.
True.
Carter's experience does not invalidate Flores's or Lapo's,
who have felt creeped out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it should serve as a reminder not to lump together a bunch of unrelated or misleading moments when discussing Biden's fitness as a candidate. At the very least, the media should give Carter the final say on the 2015 photo and stop recycling it for creepy Uncle Joe.
If there was
coverage.
just that one incident, then we'd say, okay, well, they have their own relationship, and he knew that it was going to be okay. But there's just so many, so it does fit into it. It is still part of the pattern, even if on that occasion it was consensual.
There's photographs that you linked me to an article, Johnson. Now, to be clear, at
Most
least one
of those
of
are probably fake.
At least one of these photos is fake, but showing 17 times Joe Biden acted like a total creep, where he's sort of lurking over some young people, teenagers to children, that do not look like they want to be there. They don't look particularly happy.
Lots of pictures of him with kids. You know?
By the way, I did pull up poll results from multiple polls. So Modern Consult, Harvard Harris, Kinnipack, Fox News, Emerson, CNN. So 6 different polls conducted in March, so relatively recent polls, showing Joe Biden the favorite of early, people who've made a decision already, right? Like, if you were voting today, who would you vote for in the Democratic primary? Biden's got it pretty strong over most of the other candidates.
I think that says a lot about the other candidates.
Maybe. Biden and Sanders have big name recognition compared to many of these other ones.
That's true.
And it's Biden at number 1, Sanders at number 2. So the average, they took 6 polls and then averaged the numbers out. But just by the way, Biden won all 6, but with the exception of one of them where he tied Sanders. But anyway, the average number, 28.8% voting for Biden, 21.8% Sanders. The third place candidate is someone named Harris with a 9.8.
Kamala.
Okay. First time I ever heard of her was, this primary was.
By the way, Bernie Sanders is 77.
Yeah, he's really old.
Yeah. Well, he's a year older than Biden.
Okay.
He's to be president for the insurance.
I suspect he's already covered.
Quite possibly.
Isn't he like a senator or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah. So where are we going now, Johnson?
That's pretty much it. That
Okay.
just covers it. I mean, and I think look out for that. But yeah, there's a lot to not like about creepy Uncle Joe.
So obviously, with whatever amount of publicity he's had about this, it hasn't stopped him from being the number 1 candidate. He's number 1 right now. And that doesn't mean he will be in a year when the primaries and caucuses.
He probably will be because he's the worst.
You think he's the worst of all of them?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Really?
So you don't have a problem with Kamala Harris? Or
I have problems with all of them.
Yeah.
I just think he's the worst.
Your thoughts are welcome. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. And I don't think they've had a single debate yet, so there's a long way to go here.
There's going to be plenty of debates.
Yeah,
It'll
people
happen.
get all riled up over these people.
And I speak like that because I also thought that Hillary was the worst. So wait,
is he worse than Hillary, or is Hillary worse than
I actually
Biden?
do think that Hillary's worse than Biden, but I thought that they went back, when the whole campaigns were going on, I knew that it's sort of like I've always had this kind of sixth sense about who's going to take the front spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be Biden. I think because he's the worst. And I also thought that it would be Hillary because I thought Hillary was the worst. So they took the and they went on to take the front spot.
I wonder if for this election they'll do any of the debates live on YouTube, on the internet.
They already did.
Did they do some?
They
did some. Did they do debates on live on YouTube before, or was it just town halls?
I'm pretty sure they did some debates live. I think what happened, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I recall correctly, they had the debates were put live on YouTube because the way it was working was there was like a feed that the networks were able to kind of pick up, and so that feed went on YouTube, basically. Whoever it was that was producing the debate produced the video, and then different networks were able to pick it up, if I recall that right.
I'd like
Maybe
to see them go and do a debate on alternative media instead of mainstream media.
Only on alternative media.
Well, at least one. Doesn't have to be only.
Who would host it?
I'm not a big fan of.
Is YouTube alternative media, or is that mainstream?
That's the platform. That's not one of the it's not one of the alternative media producers. It's not a content creator. So
well, that's not true. YouTube actually does have content that they create. They have
fair enough. They
I don't know if it was my roommate
Rewind.
who was showing me. They've got this Karate Kid thing that they so they brought back the cast from the Karate Kid movies. And
fair enough, but they're not alternative journalism.
Yeah, I don't think they have a news wing.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
But they do put money into programs. So the slow-mo guys, I don't know if you've ever seen them. They've got a great YouTube channel.
I've seen them. I didn't know YouTube was
They've partnered with YouTube.
Ah, okay.
So they didn't start with YouTube, but then YouTube came along and they said, well, you guys are really popular, so we're going to give you some money to do some more stuff, basically. We're going to pay you to produce more content.
That's the YouTube Red series, right?
I don't think it was Red. I think they just paid them to make more content. Maybe they put some of it on the Red thing, which is like the paid version of YouTube, as I understand it. Yeah. But if you go to the Slow-Mo Guys channels, you can see they've, over the last year or so, they've put out a whole bunch of content where they teamed up with YouTube and got bigger budgets and could do kind of bigger things and do more of them. So YouTube's definitely funding some of the content that's on its platform.
The Slow-Mo Guys are fun to watch, I gotta say.
Yeah, they got a great channel. The toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE like freedom. Since we're talking about Joe Biden, let's talk about porn. Over in the UK, where Did you hear
porn
about
licenses.
Yeah, they've got the new porn block thing where you have to like get a special pass in order to watch porn in the UK. Did you hear about this?
Yeah.
So apparently they're starting this, and well, people are upset and confused as a result of it. We'll share that with you, and you can share your thoughts with us about whatever you want. 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live. You dial toll-free to join us here if you want to. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms, discord.lrn.fm. Join them over there. We'll get you on the air here with us. With you tonight, it's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Johnson.
As we continue with your thoughts, welcome. Though I do want to thank Aaron, who is a Free Talk Live Platinum Amplifier, which means Aaron is going way above and beyond the call of duty. We ask for $5 a month. He's doing $25 a month, so thank you. At least $25. Thank you for that, Aaron. But if you want to join the AMP program, we'd appreciate it. It's a big help. It's one of those things that over the years, sadly, has actually dwindled downward. Unfortunately, the AMP program recently dropped below $2,000 a month. We'd love to get it back up to $3,000 because the more that we have on hand, the more that we can do to advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live. So we've got just under 200 amplifiers, so those are the elite people who really back up the show, and they appreciate what we do here on Free Talk Live. They want to hear us on more radio stations. If you want to, this weekend, we had a guy visiting our studio. He's a mover to New Hampshire who heard about Free Talk Live, heard of us for the first time on broadcast radio, and now he lives in New Hampshire. So we brought him in. It was actually because we had a progressive station that aired us in Ithaca, New York, which is where he's from. And so happened to hear us on the radio, heard us talking about liberty and freedom and New Hampshire, and he made the move here. And now he's coming to hang out at Social Sundays with us on occasion here in Keim, which is super cool. So there's no doubt we're reaching people with these ideas through broadcast radio. And so if you think that's valuable, if you think it's worth the price of a cheeseburger or cup of coffee, please go to amp.freetalklive.com. It's $5 a month. You can use PayPal, you can use your credit card, and if you got Bitcoin, BTC, you can use that to get signed up as well. And you get some cool perks like access to the AMP chat room on our Discord server. There's the AMP only Facebook group and other benefits as well. So go to amp.freetalklive.com. According to The Independent at independent.co.uk, frustrations posted just a few days ago is beginning to grow with the UK's new porn blocks, which will ban anyone from watching pornography in the UK until they have publicly proved themselves to be an adult. Controversial new ban has been worked on for more than a year, but it's continuing to be delayed as the government attempts to decide how exactly it should be implemented. Now, those arguing both for and against the ban have said they are irritated with the continuing mystery surrounding its introduction. The Department for Digital, Culture, Media, and Sport, that's a bureaucracy apparently, dismissed earlier reports the measures would come into force on April 1st, saying a commencement date will be announced shortly. Rumors had swirled in recent weeks the blocks would be imminent after a series of newspapers suggested the ban would be introduced on the 1st of April, but the date had never been confirmed and appears to have emerged amid complete confusion about when it would actually be introduced. Under the rules, adults will have to prove they are of age to view pornographic content, using one of a number of options, such as an over-the-counter card that they can buy from a shop or uploading ID documents online.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Yeah. You remember the old days when you could actually just go online and look at pornography, without having to tell anybody who you were. Now you may have to go into real life because, it used to be way back when they had porn stores. They still have them, I guess. But, they were always like in kind of like the industrial section of town, and they weren't
truck stops.
I don't know. I never actually went into one of them, but
you can see them when you're driving.
Yeah. Well, as a child, I was very interested in these things. We'd drive by them on the school bus, and of course, we all wanted to know what was going on inside the XXX building. But the doors are blacked out. The parking lots are around back, so your wife doesn't see you going to the porn store, or your boss doesn't see you going to the porn store, that kind of thing.
You know what's funny about this new rule that you're gonna have to get a porn pass to do this is it might actually make the porn industry profitable again. I've heard I've seen this on MTV, other places. People in the porn industry say that the internet basically killed it because everybody was able to see everything for free.
I don't believe that for a moment, because they still have a porn industry, right?
Right.
People are still making it, and I'm pretty sure they're not doing it for, the fun of doing it. So, there's money being made.
I wonder what it was like before, though. Has it gone down?
Has the revenue gone down? I
wonder.
doubt it. I don't think it has, but I've never looked closely at it. That's a good question. What is the porn revenue, the business of porn, its revenue today versus in the past?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's certainly more distributed now. Even though there's more of it that's free, it's easier to acquire now, unless, of course, you're in the UK, where they're going to try to make it more difficult. So you may have to actually go to a store and purchase a product. So now everybody at the store is going to know that you're going to go online to look at pornography, right? Because that's the only reason that you would purchase this particular product, some sort of an ID verification, basically.
Can't even say you're getting it as a gift for something
Right,
else.
yeah, it's from my wife. So anyway, going on here, let's see. In 2018, digital minister Margot James said the UK could expect the age verification rules to be enforced by Easter of this year. Quote from an executive of a children's charity, quote, age verification measures urgently needed to help prevent children being exposed to harmful and inappropriate content need to be brought in as soon as possible. Now, I wonder if this is going to apply to the free porn sites. If you go to
they can't catch all these porn sites. So I actually sent you a link on another article in regards to this that talks about all the reasons why this porn block in the UK is one of the dumbest decisions ever, and giving the technical
from Wired
reasons, and how they're going to implement this, and it's very, very stupid.
Well, I would love to hear more about that. We'll continue with your calls first, though, so we'll talk more about the porn.
Maybe that's the delay. They can't figure out how they're going to implement this. How's it going to work?
Yeah.
Let's go to David in San Francisco. You're on Free Talk Live, listening online. Go ahead, David.
Oh, howdy.
Hi there.
Hey, by the way, can you tell me, I'm sitting in a car and it's pouring down rain. Can you hear it?
No, I cannot hear anything about that. So just you. Go ahead.
Good deal, yeah. Well, I don't know if you noticed it, but Trump has decided to seal up the border. He's decided to...
I heard that he was thinking about it. Has he done it?
Well, God knows.
Okay, so what I heard this morning... Hold on. What I heard this morning about this was that he was threatening to close the border if some, Congress or something didn't do what he wanted them to. Here's an update from the story. Washington reporting, the AP reporting, this published just a few hours ago. President Donald Trump eased up today on his threats to shut the southern border this week as officials across his administration explored half measures that might satisfy his urge for action, like stopping only foot traffic at certain crossings. Facing a surge of Central American migrants trying to enter the U.S., Trump last week threatened to seal the border if Mexico did not immediately halt all illegal immigration into the U.S., a move that would have enormous economic consequences on both sides of the border. While Trump today did not back off the idea completely, he said he was pleased with the steps that Mexico had taken in recent days and renewed his calls for Congress to make changes he contends would solve the problem. So basically what he said he was going to do, and now seems to thankfully be backing down from, was that he was going to close the border entirely if he didn't get his way. He basically, and the quote that I heard on the news this morning was pretty shocking, basically saying he didn't care about the economic consequences of closing the border.
Honestly, they would be pretty minimal. I mean, we would feel it.
What?
It would only be about it would be 25% of Mexico's GDP would be affected. It would be 1.4% of our GDP. Now, that's
tell that to
nothing.
all the people who are importing products from Mexico.
That is not nothing. 1.4% is not nothing. But compared to 25%,
for some people, it's their entire
Mexico,
business.
But compared to the 25% with Mexico, they sprung into action, and that's why he's not going to do it.
Okay, but he shouldn't do it anyway because it's the wrong thing to do. It's insane to cut off the supply.
But to say that it would devastate our economy just isn't true.
It would devastate the economies of all the businesses that rely on products from Mexico and trading with Mexico. You are destroying those people's livelihood.
But to say
it's the individuals that matter here, not some number from a high level, oversee. Go ahead, David.
Well, it's not just that it would affect the business. If say, for example, this is
and travel and
planting season. It's planting season, and for the last 150 years, Mexico has had people crossing the border to work the farms in America. Now, I've told you before that Donald Trump, as a real estate developer, knows how to steal land. If he cuts off the supply of workers to the farms, they're not going to get their crops in this year. And bam, Trump and his real estate buddies are going to be able to swoop in and buy a bunch of farmland at tax auction. Now, it's not just bad enough that he's doing it to the border, but he's also talking about cutting off Medicare, which means that...
Well, that would be a plus. I mean, if he could actually get rid of government-funded health care, that would be incredible.
Now
but
you have Ian's attention.
I don't believe for a second that he would be serious about that, because it would be incredibly politically unpopular. That's why I don't hear those people actually talking about it. Thanks, David.
Go to themorganreport.com and receive updates and insights you will not find anywhere else on the web. You will discover how to grow and protect your wealth under all market conditions. The free Morgan Report provides interviews, webinars, question and answer sessions, plus mind-blowing videos. As David Morgan says, let my passion create your wealth. TheMorganReport.com. TheMorganReport.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, launching into the third hour of the program. You're invited to join us here, as always. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Just go to discord.lrn.fm. You can join any one of those rooms, and we will join you in there. But if you're in the room, you ought to be listening to your Discord rather than to the stream. I know that's hard to do because, if we pick up and you're not there and we're asking for you, then you're not going to get on. So you gotta kind of pay attention. Anyway, discord.lrn.fm. With you tonight, it's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Johnson.
In the last hour, we went into a story about the UK's porn block that they are purportedly putting into effect. Some people thought it was going to be April 1st, but it doesn't appear that it was. It appears that there's a large amount of confusion as to exactly how this new system is going to work. When we talked about it previously, there was discussion of anybody who wanted to purchase porn or go to a porn site would have to verify that they are of age. Now, the old way this used to be done on the internet was, well, if you have got a credit card, then obviously you're 18 years old, so just put your credit card information in and we'll verify you. But of course, that doesn't mean that, your son can't take your credit card out of your, his mom's purse and then put all the information in, and he's 18, right? So the UK wanted to go further than that requirement, and they've come up with some sort of system. It's not really clear exactly how it's going to work.
Sounds like they haven't come up with a system.
Well, they purported to, but it's not clear exactly what it was. Supposedly, you would go and buy an actual proof that you're show proof to someone at a physical location.
This article I got talks about how it will work.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got something from Wired, which is a good source for that.
So it asks, how will the UK porn block work? Well,
this is fresh, by the way, within the last couple of weeks. This is a news story.
So when you visit porn that uses age checks, the website will show a landing page that doesn't have any 18-plus content on it. At present, some websites that host porn already have landing pages that ask users to click a button to say that they're over 18. However, anyone can click these buttons, and there aren't any checks to confirm their age. Under the new regulation, websites will be required to adopt an age verification system.
Now, just to be clear, not every website's based in the UK. So the idea is if you want to be available in the UK as a porn site, you will have to put in one of these age verification systems. Or otherwise, they're going to block you, because that's the only way they can do this, is to have a nationwide blocking system to filter out porn sites that are not compliant.
Right. So it says the systems will require users to verify their email address and then their age using a variety of options, such as SMS, credit card, passport, or your driving license. Some systems will also offer a porn pass you can purchase from a local shop. It's a simple idea, and like many simple ideas, they come from simple people. I added that part. It almost sounds plausible until you get into the details.
Well, yeah, like if you have a provider in the United States and somebody in the UK giving their driver's license number, how does the U.S. provider verify
So they have systems. So there's online verification systems that have, the ability to scan licenses from across various different jurisdictions.
That's really terrifying.
If you go, it's creepy.
Oh, yeah.
If you go, the first place I saw these were actually on like Bitcoin exchanges. So when you go and sign up for different Bitcoin exchanges, they have this like Orwellian identification verification check program that they've that it's not the website that runs this thing. It's a provider that they've contracted with that has whatever database access that they need to verify that you are indeed Laurel Scott from New Hampshire and that this is your license. Somehow you just take a picture of your license and then take a picture of the backside. You upload it to this thing, and this Orwellian eyeball like spins, and then it's either approves you or it doesn't. So they've figured that out.
Wow.
Well, Wired continues to say here, until you get into the details, and then you start to realize that the porn block is one of the worst ideas ever invented. Let's count the ways.
Oh, good.
First one, it won't work.
Yeah, duh. Welcome to the internet.
There are literally millions of porn websites, unless you create some kind of government version of Facebook's nipple ban, which, to be clear, is a terrible idea. You're not going to catch all of them. What's more, because the UK is the only country in the world mad enough to introduce a porn block, anyone with a VPN, which can make it seem like you're in another country, can get around it. Now, you might say...
Well, now, hold on. They could try to block VPNs.
Potentially, and that would also be ludicrous.
Yeah.
But it says, now you might say that doesn't matter. As long as the porn block catches most people, it's still worth it. And this, presumably, is what the government is thinking.
Right, because anybody who has the intent,
right.
Anybody who wants to get around, especially a young person who was raised with the internet, and unlike these, old politicians who don't know a thing about it, can easily find their way around any kind of blocks.
Yeah. So they say, although to be honest, it's not entirely clear what they're thinking. This is the kind of policy where crucial announcements like the fact that the original rollout was delayed from April 2018 until the end of 2018 or later, it's still not
still
waiting,
waiting,
to get out a press release on the telecoms infrastructure on a Saturday with a tweet. And the trouble with this idea of catching most people is that it fails to take into account the unintended consequences, which brings us to problem number 2. It will encourage illegal behavior. When you hire a bouncer to crack down on kids drinking in the local pub, you don't get a sudden rise in homework. You get a surge in fake IDs and drinking in the park.
That's a great point.
The porn block will do the same thing online, pushing kids towards streaming sites stuffed with malware, creepy subreddits, and places on the dark web that sell credit card details, because it seems as if age verification system is going to use credit cards as its basis. It's a classic case of driving legal behavior underground, making it a whole lot dodgier than it was in the first place. To quote a recognized authority in this area, adults, and some children, may be pushing towards using Tor, the Onion Router, and related systems to avoid age verification, where they could be exposed to illegal and extreme material that they otherwise would have come into contact with. The name of that authority? The government's own impact assessment. So, I mean, it's just kind of that. Yeah,
that's a great point. When you outlaw,
you're gonna black market it essentially.
Yeah, right. It puts it in the black market. Now, of course, all porn won't be created in the black market. It'll still be created in the the legal markets and wherever it's legal to make porn, like in the U.S., California, New Hampshire, I believe, are the two states where it's legal to produce pornography. And so we'll still likely
not Nevada.
I have not heard Nevada is one of the states, but I've heard it's California and New Mexico or New Hampshire. So correct me if I'm wrong on that. That's not to say it isn't made in other places without permission, but it's not legal to do that in those other places. But they're going to try their damnedest to do this blocking. And I think that and I don't know if I haven't read this article, Johnson. I don't know if they get to it. But in order to block the sites, they're going to have a blocked sites list. And that means that that list can expand. It may start with just porn, but maybe it'll eventually expand to include, bomb making instructions or other things that the government doesn't want you to have access to.
Right.
So I think that's one of the scariest aspects of this, regardless of how you feel about pornography. If you don't protect people's rights, the old free speech, argument here. If you don't protect people's right to speech that you find unpleasant, then eventually the speech that you support may end up on the blocked list. So look out.
Kind of part of number 3, which is this is a massive database of everyone's tastes in porn. The moment, unless you're Facebook or Google, it's actually pretty hard to match up someone's real identity to their online behavior, unless that is you make people log into your site with their real name, real email address, and real credit card details, which is exactly what this legislation will force people to do. So this database is going to be massive. Remember when Ashley Madison was hacked? It had to pay out $11 million in compensation to 33 million people. Pornhub, the world's most visited porn website, had 64 million visitors per day in 2017. And the UK is its second biggest traffic driver.
So if the UK is its second largest client as far as its customers are concerned, then that suggests Pornhub's going to follow these regulations. I wonder what they're saying about it. There's more coming up here in moments. You got more on the points of why this is a terrible idea. And we'll continue that in moments on Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll free. Bring up what you want. Our number is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. You can join one of those and talk about whatever you want, although we are discussing a porn block that is purportedly being put into effect in the UK. And, there are some serious problems with this. In fact, Wired magazine is getting into some of the reasons why this is a terrible idea, beyond the obvious freedom implications of, hey, it's, supposed to be a free internet. You're supposed to be able to put whatever content you want online, and people should be able to voluntarily choose to download it if that's what they want to do. But these politicians love to use the children as their excuse to try to control what people do on the internet. And of course, that's the basis of this claim, is that there's porn on the internet and it's bad and kids are on the internet, and so therefore you need to buy a porn pass in order to be able to get access to porn if you're in the UK. That's their proposal. These passes will be available apparently in physical form, but you can also go through one of these adult verification providers online to verify via some means, purportedly credit card, passport, some sort of identification, because, your kids couldn't possibly pull your passport or your credit card out of your purse or desk drawer
that
or
would
wherever.
Never happen.
No, they would never do that.
Incidentally, I double-checked, and the legality of shooting pornography has only been court-tested in California and New Hampshire. That doesn't mean it's expressly illegal in other states. It's just that it's only in these two states where we know it's okay.
Well, it may be illegal under obscenity statutes or
That's
different
prostitution,
interpretations.
You're getting paid for sex.
Right.
So now that I've done a search on my computer in what states can I shoot porn, I wonder what algorithms will give me for advertising based on my interests from my internet
here's some
search.
video cameras you can buy. So I was curious about what's Pornhub going to do about this, Johnson? Because just to interrupt your story on Wired, I think we're on point 3 or 4. There is a story from Vice.com's Motherboard about how apparently India revived an order that blocked pornographic websites. The story here is that in 2015, the Indian government ordered, which is according to this story, Pornhub is number 3 as far as their number 3 country is India. So you mentioned the UK's number 2. India's their number 3. And in 2015, the Indian government ordered the country's internet service providers to block access to 857 websites that were found to host pornographic content, citing a threat to morality and decency. After an uproar on social media from citizens as well as confusion and resistance from the ISPs themselves, the Ministry of Electronics and IT reversed the order less than 1 week later. To get around the blocks, Pornhub set up a mirror website, a copy that replicates their existing site at pornhub.net. So Pornhub wasn't just going to sit idly by and lose however many millions of users they had from India. They just put up a new URL.
And their new URL is almost identical to their other one. So
that's right.
Their plan wasn't even that clever, and it still worked.
Yeah.
Which tells you that these lawmakers who are doing this just can't figure this internet stuff out.
Right. So let's go on, Johnson, with you were sharing from Wired.com some of the reasons why this is dumb stuff.
Dumb stuff. The reason number 4 is the company's doing the checks. Government decided not to implement the porn block itself, but to leave it up to the industry. One company working on a solution is called MindGeek. It developed something called Age ID, basically a checkpoint for age, and for a fee, it's offering to sell this to other companies. It expects to verify 25 million users in the first month. What MindGeek doesn't mention, literally anywhere on its website, is that the owner of the world's biggest porn sites, including Pornhub, YouPorn, and RedTube, we're asking pornographers to protect you from porn. We're also giving MindGeek, via its Age ID system, a free pass to collect everyone's information. According to Age ID's privacy policy, this is limited to an email address and password, which are protected via a salted one-way hash. A previous version of the privacy policy, which MindGeek states can be updated at any time, claimed that the company could collect names, addresses, date of birth, and browsing data. The company's the privacy implications are mind-boggling, especially since if MindGeek uses credit cards as the basis for Age ID, you're requiring people effectively to announce the fact that they are looking at porn to the credit card companies. Yeah.
Not to mention giving MindGeek a huge credit card database as well, which I'm sure they won't keep.
And as we know from Operation Choke Point, that the financial industry has been used to decide the morals of other people.
To target certain industries.
To target certain industries and even certain individuals at this point.
So number 5 here we've kind of already touched on, but the porn block risks censorship. After a great deal of indecision,
it's guaranteed.
At the start of 2018, it was confirmed that the British Board of Film Classification, the BBFC, would become the regulator for age verification. This is the body that sets the age restrictions, PG, 12, 18,
for movies
on films in the UK.
Yeah.
This is an odd decision because the BBFC is not a digital expert. It's a 106-year-old censor established to ensure films remained free of indecorous dancing. References to controversial politics and men and women in bed together.
Oh, my.
And this history is extremely relevant because it's not hard to see how the porn block could turn into something even more restrictive. The government has form here because in 2014 it passed a law banning a long, arbitrary, and frankly sexist list of sexual acts for online films in the UK, including, well...
The list should be pretty interesting.
I don't know if you could say that.
I mean, there are clinical terms, but I'm just going to go ahead and skip this list for safety's sake.
Thanks for that.
The reason for these last...
A list of sexual positions is what it is, right?
Now I got to look.
Can you beat around the bush, so to speak? Are we talking about sexual positions?
That might be one of them. No, just... Yeah. So, something involving a closed hand.
Oh, dear.
Something involving...
And sex organs.
Yes, something involving the face.
Okay.
And it
Did I
being
see one
used
involving
as
animals?
a seating device.
Yep. Okay.
And something that is typically attributed to males, but is the product of a female in this case.
Gotcha.
Would be the 3 that were banned. The reason for the last 2 were given, of course, that they were life-endangering.
Mm-hmm.
So... This C-word censorship here gets thrown around a lot in debates online, not always that sensibly, and it's important to note that this list won't be included in the porn block, but it's worth thinking
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. About the government's prudish distinction between acceptable sex and unacceptable sex.
Anybody who's ever looked at government and how state programs work should know by now that whenever a government program is created, it never stays in its created form.
This is a great quote. As campaigner Miles Jackman puts it, pornography is the canary in the coal mine of free speech.
Right.
It is the first freedom to die. If this assault on liberty is allowed to go unchallenged, other freedoms will fall as a consequence.
Exactly. We got more on the way. A couple more points?
One more point.
All right. On the way, you can share your thoughts too. Free Talk Live.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll-free, bring up what you want here. Our number 855-450-FREE. Like freedom, that's 855-450-3733. We do have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. In fact, we're going to go to one of those here in just a moment. And with you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Johnson.
Don't forget, you can watch us on our Twitch channel over at twitch.lrn.fm. I had Horn Solo in our Discord chat asking about the goal that we're trying to reach 75 viewers on Twitch. Not an easy thing to do. And we're still relatively new. We've only been there for about a year, just over a year, and we've got not quite 800 followers yet. So, I mean, basically that would be asking 10% of our followers to be watching constantly, and I think that's probably a little high. So we're going to have to we got more growing to do before we can reach that goal. But he'd asked about like how often you have to have the 75. As I understand it, you have to basically have 75 any old time you're streaming.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe it's an average or something like that. So maybe if we,
it's an average. It's an average viewership of 75. So you would have to have.
So we can have some streams that are like 100 or 300 or something, and then maybe lower streams that would push us up.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like when you start a stream, you don't have 75 right out the gate. You start with 8.
You're gonna probably need to be able to look over at that search box for the most part and see above 100.
Yeah, to get there
for it to work. Yeah.
So that's over a 30-day period.
Yeah, 30 days.
So it has to be sustained, and it basically has to be any time you're streaming. So if we stream it, if I decide to get on and stream a video game at 2 a.m, which every now and then I'll do, which very rarely, but I'll do it. It's going to be harder to pull 75 people in the middle of the night, for instance. So that restriction sort of discourages streaming in a way, right? Like, so if I know that the game streams don't do as well as the talk show streams, then I'm less likely to do the game stream.
Well, the idea behind it, I think, is that Twitch, first of all, if you're a partner, they're going to pay you, right? So they're looking
No. They pay you extra out of the subscription money. So what happens is when you get to Twitch affiliate, which is kind of the first tier of, you're at the new level kind of thing. When you get to Twitch affiliate, you can then receive subscriptions to your channel, and that's where people will pay Twitch $5 a month. Twitch removes the video ads that they play on the channel, because normally when you first go and tune in, there's like a pre-roll that plays. Mm-hmm. You will not see those ads as a subscriber, but Twitch keeps half of the subscription money. So the channel gets half of it.
It's
a 50-50 split. If you get to the Twitch partner level, I believe it goes from $2.50 per $5 subscription to $3 or $3.50 or something like that. So there's a slight boost in that. One of the other that's not to me the goal of that, because again, if you want to help Free Talk Live, amp the show, because then we'll get 90% instead of 50, because then only the credit card fee or the PayPal fee is what comes out of the AMP money. So if you're looking to maximize your support of the show, please go to amp.freetalklive.com. But being a Twitch partner also means you can get featured on their front page of their website.
You also get different higher quality video.
You get more transcoding options.
Yep, you get access to partner spotlights, meet and greets, partner panels, streamer zones, more offers for sponsorships and different advertising.
And it's not a guarantee. Once you hit that 75, then they assess you as to whether or not.
Yeah.
So it won't happen right away. It's not going to be like we cross that 75 mark for 30 days and then all of a sudden we get the Twitch partner. Then they take a look at you and they say, oh, well, is this real? Like, are they buying views? Do they actually have chatters chatting in the chat room?
It's sort of like what happened when I first got monetized with YouTube is I hit 1,000 and I thought instantly I would get ads. They said, no, when you hit 1,000, then we review you. We'll get back to you in a month or two.
Yeah, so we're trying to hit that level, and so please follow our Twitch channel over at twitch.lrn.fm. We appreciate it. It's another way for you to listen to and to watch the show. And if you really want to go above and beyond the Call of Duty, then please leave a browser tab open to that channel 24/7. If you got a computer that's on 24/7, just leave the tab open. If you don't have a computer that's on 24/7, if you got a laptop that you close down every now and then, if you want to leave a tab open there, it'll still help us a little bit, because when you're there, they have some way of detecting that you're there, and that helps, because then you'll be an additional viewer, and the more viewers we have, the higher our ranking will be on the talk shows category. And, I mean, like right now, we're sometimes in the top 15 on the talk shows, depending on the night. But if we have 100 viewers or more, then we will more frequently be like in the top 5, basically. So that means more people will find us, which means they'll find the ideas of freedom. So you can look at it as activism as well. So please go to twitch.lrn.fm. Let's go to Rob listening in Maine. We got one more point on the reasons why this UK porn block is a terrible idea from Wired. But Rob, you're up first. Go ahead.
Hi. I was just listening to your news feed about the guy that was saying that there's no Palestine.
Who?
Who was that?
I'm sorry. What news feed was saying what about Palestine?
Your news feed.
Who's you?
Saying that there's...
Are you listening on the internet?
Yeah, on the internet.
Via what means?
Pardon me?
How are you listening online?
On YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't listening to the news, so I don't know what it was saying. So what was the claim?
I was saying that they're talking about anti-Semitic and how there is no Palestine, and that's a large contingent of people, say that Palestinians are just that they have no claim to that land. And
okay.
I just wanted to bring up that, like, I remember Shalomet Alomi. She was on Democracy Now. She's an Israeli Knesset minister, and she says that anti-Semitic, it's a trick that we always use it. And see, not all Jewish people are together on this whole thing. But,
well, that's a shock. Are you telling me that people are individuals and they have different opinions about things?
Yeah,
shocking.
Even among Jewish people.
Yeah,
the
well, that's what I keep trying to
Jews,
explain to these racists out there, is that people are different. Just because somebody was born Jewish doesn't mean anything about them. It doesn't mean anything about what they believe or who they are as an individual. And racists
I don't
always
know,
ignore
man.
that.
I'm 0.2% Jewish. Clearly, that means that I'm 0.2% chosen.
Well, the Ashkenazi Jews, they're not really, they don't have a drop of King David's blood in them. They're not Hebrew at all.
Oh, so you're crushing my dreams right now. My whole 2.2%, and you're just saying it's not even, I don't even get 0.2% chosen. That's just mean, man.
They're from the South Caucasus, like Georgia. It's Georgia right now. And that's according to a Benjamin Friedman. He's a Jewish historian. He says that the word Jew didn't even come into existence until 1775. And there was even a DNA study done by Hebrew University back, 20 years ago, that there's a close genetic connection between the Jews and the Kurds, not the Hebrews. So for them to call other people anti-Semitic is like, it's absurd, And,
so you're saying Jews aren't Jews?
Right. Yeah, isn't that kind of ironic? And then when you have, I remember the chief rabbi of Israel, Yosef, he had the largest funeral in Israeli history back 2012, 13, something like that. And he was going around saying that non-Jews are donkeys created to serve the Jews. And I read in the Jerusalem Post itself that he said that the basic function of a goy, which is us, is to serve Jews. Like, you talk about
it's not a surprise that some people who, there's racists everywhere. So there's racists who are like Chris Cantwell, who are
chief rabbi who's a racist.
There's all kinds of racists.
It sounds like a very unusual minority opinion. I've never ever heard any Jew say that ever.
I've heard the white supremacists citing things like that.
Uh-huh.
So obviously there are people who are Jewish who believe those things in the same way that there are extremist Muslims who believe in, using violence against people, and there are extreme Christians who believe in some crazy crap. I mean, there's all kinds of lunatics out there.
I had an amusing thought to bring up that I had the other day. I was thinking, a lot of people make the argument that something can't be racist unless it's institutionalized, that the only kind of racism that actually exists is institutionalized racism, right? Then that's why, people who are of a minority culture cannot be possibly racist.
Ridiculous.
Only whites can be racist. And I was thinking, well, now that Jussie Smollett got off, does that mean that now black people can be racist? Because that was definitely institutionalized racism for the fact that he was able to go free after doing what he did.
Rob, thanks for the call tonight. Racism exists all over the place, and it's despicable. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live. You are invited here to join us. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. You can get interactive online. We do have a Free Talk Live forum in which you can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners. Yeah, there's the Discord chat, and that's more popular, but the forum is different because it's more organized. You can organize by topic over time, rather than in the immediacy of a chat room. So go to forum.freetalklive.com. You can explore that there. It's free, like so many of the features on our website. Once again, it's forum.freetalklive.com. Ian and Laurel and Johnson in the studio tonight. We still have one more on this list of reasons why the UK porn ban or porn lockout, or whatever you want to call it, this proposal that they've got that's supposedly coming very soon to the UK is a terrible idea. So hopefully we'll get to that. But first we go to your calls and thoughts. Gene, the Christian anarchist, starting things out here. Go ahead, Gene.
Hey, I'm going to change gears here and talk about something that really interests me, and I find it an important topic for us to learn about so that we can defeat this social engineering and brainwashing. And I see a lot of it because of my time that I spend in China and back here. And I was watching somebody else who also spent like 10 years in China talking about the same subject. And that is that the people in China, you can see this if you go there, they have a different way of reacting and thinking than the people in the USA. And I don't want to get into a lot of details, but I mean, this is, I can give you an example if you'd like.
Is it instance, different better or different or different worse?
I don't know. I don't think it's better, but that's, I'm looking at it from my perspective.
There's not a whole lot of thinkers in the United States either, as far as the way people react to things.
Right. And that's one of the things I do is I compare their brainwashing to our brainwashing. And it is important for us all to realize that there is brainwashing or social engineering going on every day, and we don't realize it because it's so subtle that we don't really pick up on it. And you really see it when you go to another culture and you see because then it's obvious. You see things like, in China, for instance, for years when I was going to China, they said, oh, don't put paper in the toilet. It won't go down the toilet,
right.
Toilet paper, which makes no sense because, if fecal matter is going to go down that toilet paper is going to go down that toilet as long as you don't overload it. And so I always flushed it down and never had an issue, and for 25 years. But now they're trying to convince people in China to flush their paper because, it's a filthy, disgusting thing to not flush your paper because it's going in typically a trash can next to the toilet.
It was the same thing in Central America. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do that too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a dumb idea. I don't know where it came from.
It's because they used to use newspaper, and newspaper will clog your toilet.
Oh my!
And I do think that's where it came from, was newspaper. But I mean, nobody in China has used newspaper for, ever since I've started going there 25 years ago.
Some people would say that's the appropriate use of a newspaper, but it sounds a little uncomfortable.
But the point is, the social conditioning was there, and it's been strong up until just recently. And now they're trying to convince everybody, it's okay to do that now.
Mm-hmm.
The plumbing didn't change. They have
Right.
the same toilet. They have the same plumbing lines. Nothing has changed, except now they're trying to change the conditioning of the people. And that's just one example from China. I could give you a bunch of others, but we're not here for that.
So you're saying it's difficult. It's not working. It's not an easy thing to do.
Right. And the point I'm trying to make is we have social conditioning here, and we don't see it, because just like the Chinese didn't see it about the toilet paper, we don't see it here because of the way it's snuck in on us. But we need to start to critically analyze things that we're taught and things that we hear. And a good place to start is the news media and the government, because they always lie. So you can pretty much count on not believing anything they say. So, if they tell me the sky is blue, I have to go out and look and make sure, because I don't believe these guys.
Well, Ian's ahead of the game with that one. He never believes them. So we're good there.
Yes, Ian is doing very good in that regard. I have, and that's it. That's all I wanted to do, is I just want to get people to realize that we have social conditioning in this country as well, and we need to try and break it. And the only way we're going to break it is by trying to educate ourselves. And one of the biggest things is taking the idea of liberty and using it in every single area of our life, because I believe that liberty is the way to go with everything. And everything that's not liberty is pretty much wrong. And that's a part of social conditioning, so that people can have power over us.
Well, it is important to break social norms, I think. And this can result in some violence. This can result in people being very angry if you break certain social norms. And I think whenever you get the chance to do it, you ought to, just because it shakes people to some extent out of their slumber. It makes them, like, whoa, what was it that you said? Like the guy that the nice gentleman who was installing the air conditioner here, one of them that came in, he was just trying to make conversation, asking if I had interviewed any of the presidential candidates, because he was in a talk show studio, right? And my response was like something to the effect of, yeah, I would never want to talk to those people. Just he wasn't expecting that response from a talk show host, right? Because a talk show host would normally be like all proud of yes, I spoke with this guy over here and this guy over there, and I'm that important. And like, I'm not interested in any one of these politicians and what it is that they have to say. And then opening that discussion up kind of led to, a discussion about what Free Talk Live was about. Well, if we're not about talking to politicians, which seems to be what most talk shows are all about. If you ever listen to talk radio, it's like just name-dropping politicians, and these talk show hosts just want to seem so important and so connected with all of the political world. Whereas here, we're not interested in them in any way, shape, or form. So that led to another discussion about, what the show was about. And I explained that it was libertarian, and he had a very positive response to that. I don't think he was expecting that at all. But, we're here in New Hampshire where people tend to love freedom. And so when, he heard that the show was actually in favor of freedom, that was, a pleasant exchange and encounter. And it was because I kind of, broke the typical conversation of what was happening there. Or it could just simply be, smoking pot in Central Square, going topless as a female. I think it's important to break social norms to get conversations started and to get people out of their usual modes of thinking. So I tend to agree with you.
And the other big area of social engineering and brainwashing, of course, is most religions. Mm-hmm. And this is one, as a Christian anarchist, I always try to talk to people who claim to be Christians, and I say, well, okay, why do we believe this? Why do we believe that? Is this really as accurate as we think it is? And I try to put these ideas in people. I don't confront people, and I don't call them names and, get in a big, mean argument. In fact, if the argument gets too heated, I just drop it and move on, because at that point, you're just wasting your breath. But if you can talk to people about it and say, well, why do we believe this? What is that about this that you think is real, and what part do you think maybe isn't real? Because I've often talked to people about, why do you think the Bible is 100% right? How in the world can that document have existed for as long as it has without having political influence put into those?
Oh, you blasphemous man. You're not making friends with that viewpoint.
I do
in the
get
Christian
some
church.
problems with that.
Hey, Gene, thanks for the call tonight. Good points. Appreciate hearing from you. And if you want to join us here, you can. We're going to go to another one of our... okay, we got to turn that down because he's still listening to whatever it is he's listening to. Bad Slave is on the line with us here on the Discord server. Bad Slave?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go ahead. You're on the air.
Well, thank you, Ian, Laurel, and Johnson. I wanted to speak with Laurel again.
Okay.
Again, about the nature of the New Hampshire Bar Association, as well as all the other bar associations.
All right, I'm going to tell you, you got about 30 seconds. You've got like less than 30 seconds to make whatever point or question. Go ahead.
Really? Well, I think that there ought to be competing accrediting organizations, just to use your word, Ian. And as that, because I think that the actual objectives of the Bar Association are not anywhere near producing justice.
Well, you can't really get a whole lot of good service out of a monopolistic organization. Quick comments on that, Laurel?
I think I'm in favor of some sort of accreditation, but it doesn't have to be the way that it is now.
Would you like to see competition?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. You got some agreement there, Bad Slave. Thanks for the call. We'll see you tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime over at freetalklive.com. I'll share that article on our social media at twitter.freetalklive.com and toot.freetalklive.com about the UK porn ban, so you can get the rest of that. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, it's another edition of the Edgington Post Show. I am Mark Edge, here for Free Talk Live. Today I'm interviewing Jonathan Keim of CryptocurrencyWire.com. Jonathan, are you with me?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Jonathan, so we've recently done some work with you guys over there, and I thought you guys had such an interesting story. I just wanted to bring you on and talk about it a little bit.
Oh, good. Well, we love sharing our story.
Can you go ahead and tell me how you got into cryptocurrency originally?
Absolutely. So, I remember when I first heard about it on Engadget, and I'm pretty sure it was the Mt. Gox scandal that was going on at the time. So obviously a lot of people heard about it. And I remember thinking, wow, people are spending all this money for a unique bit of software. That was kind of the way my mind thought about it.
Yep.
And, I didn't get the unique selling proposition. I didn't take the time to dig into it. I just had my thought and moved on. And then later, someone did explain that to me. Unfortunately, that was mid-2017. Bitcoin was already at $2,000 and, going up every month. And so I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to chase that train, because I'm very much more of a value-based person. I like picking things up when no one else wants them. I don't follow hype, especially being in the news business. I know what normally happens when you do. So with that all being said, the way that we got into crypto as a business was when we saw the similarities. And in a lot of ways, crypto is different than everything else, but in other ways, it's very similar to what we already know to be successful and helpful to the world. And one of those things is stocks and the ability to trade equity and all the things that unlocks for the business, for the investor, for the trader. It really allows economic development in a way that wouldn't be possible otherwise. So I really saw us as the perfect bridge of bringing crypto more mainstream, particularly because our audience is mostly micro-cap and small-cap traders. They're willing to take risks. They're not afraid of fluctuating values. And you almost have to overcome some of that before people are even interested in getting involved in the space, because they just see it as a way to lose money otherwise, rather than seeing it more of a tool.
So what does Cryptocurrency Wire do?
Great question. So we really use news channels to get maximum exposure. And, news is very special because not only is it credible. It has a credible ring to it. But, news is where it usually all starts. People don't get involved. Like, let's just talk about the iPod, for instance. People didn't know they wanted an iPod until it was on the news. So
yeah, I never considered it.
Yeah, I didn't even myself. It just all of a sudden hit me, years later, how important news is, because when you have something new, it's only new for a short amount of time, and that's when you can get the most percentage of people engaged, per impression, is when it's new and exciting. So you want to maximize that moment, and the way that we do that is not just through traditional news channels and public relations to help independent coverage get kicked off. Like, I know when we did your release with Uganda, all the great things that you're doing there with a couple other major contributors to the project. I didn't know if you wanted to get in on that news, but Bitcoin.com covered it, and we're seeing more coverage as the days go on. That's important, but we also have our own media network through Investor Brand Network. There's 34 brands and counting. We're actually launching 3 more next week, and it's really a great way of reaching out directly to audiences that are looking for the latest news, and by having our own writers and our own channels, we can make sure that there's impressions versus the traditional, public relations on its own. You're essentially begging journalists and hope they get you exposure, and if they don't like your story, and the truth is most of them won't, because there's probably one journalist for every 100 stories out there.
Right.
So it's very hard to get that independent coverage, and we want to make sure that those that have an exciting story to tell and they're doing things right, they have a platform to get that news out when it's fresh.
Yeah, so basically it's like a public relations company, but what they do that's better than what I've seen from many public relations companies is that you guys write the story. And you were talking about the dearth of reporters out there, and if somebody's in the industry may not realize that that's true, but it's true. There is a dearth of reporters out there. And those reporters, because there's so few of them and so much is expected of them, they like their stories written for them. And they picked up our story on raising $80,000 for the orphanage in Uganda, and we got all over the place. It was quite a few responses. I'm still getting things in my email box, as Google looks on the internet and finds, the words Free Talk Live or Mark Edge or Ian Freeman or whatever it is that they're looking for. I'm still getting updates on that. And it's been, for us, it's been great. Now, I don't know what quantifiably is going to come necessarily from a story, but, it's a good thing.
Yeah, and another thing I'd like to touch on, sometimes you don't have news, but you need to maintain engagement with the news media, with the news junkies, and just the internet at large. Obviously, news indexes really well, and we're tapped in directly with MarketWatch and International Business Times, Street Insider, trying to think about some others on the financial end, Reuters, Dow Jones. So, and even with brokers, with certain editorial distributions we do, we can show up, like for instance, if someone is tracking Microsoft News, it would come in like official press release, and you can reach that very targeted audience. But when you don't have news, we still need to get articles out there. So that's where we use our syndication with those other channels to not only deliver information that someone may not have seen before, whether it's resurfacing prior press releases or something off the website, or maybe a new market opportunity, something's happening in the market that makes a particular technology highly relevant. We want to make sure to keep the person out there, because in a lot of ways, public relations is just marketing through news channels, and we understand that. So knowing that it's marketing, you have to maintain engagement. There's the rule of 7, where you have to reach someone 7 times before they really will even consider reaching back to you. Obviously, that number can change depending on the circumstance, but it holds pretty true. And you just don't get that with one press release, one announcement, or even one publication in Forbes.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. You have to get people, have to touch them on multiple levels in order for them to respond. Now, the cryptocurrency market has changed a bit in the last, say, year, maybe a bit more. Probably last year you guys were busy with lots of ICOs that were coming out, and now we don't hear about those at all. How are some of the things that have changed along the way?
Yeah, well, it's funny. When all those ICOs would approach us, especially at the conferences, I had to keep telling them we can't work with you. And they say, well, why are you even here? And I totally understood that the difference is, we've been in a regulated environment servicing publicly traded companies for the last 14 years. And, we understand certain risks better than, newcomers in the field. But as far as your question and what's changed, I remember talking to Monty Munford. He works at, well, I guess he doesn't work there. He's a contributor at The Economist, BBC, Forbes, and some other recognizable publications. And he explained to me why they just keep talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum all the time. And, they were really afraid to cover anything else. They'd have to get special exceptions. When it came to ICOs, they flat out couldn't even mention them, not even in a single word as a comparison or anything else while they're raising money. So there were just different things like that really held things back. So the mass, mainstream audience just didn't understand or even know about these other technologies because the main channels they were listening to wouldn't cover them. But now we're seeing a lot of that changing. With Ravencoin, what they're doing with Overstock, and there's other things going on. I guess in full disclosure, I do hold some Ravencoin. I'm not, trying to, bring particular attention to that.
I do too.
Why? Okay. Well, I don't know if, there's any disclaimer I need to add with that. But, my point is, as publicly traded companies, and that's just the first example that comes to mind because I've been following it so closely, but when you have Microsoft, interacting with the different technologies through their Azure platform, I know XYO, they just got integrated with it, and then you got IBM working with Stellar, just to provide some other examples.
Before you go on, I want to tell people if they want to hear the rest of this interview, go to archives.freetalklive.com. Just search Keim, Keim, archives.freetalklive.com.
Awesome. So I just wanted to bring that out, that now the news is a lot more open to talking about other types of blockchains than just the two main ones,
right?
Which is very exciting for me.
Yeah, I like the idea that other things are being brought through. Does that that people are talking about them and that kind of things? Does that mean that you kind of think that the altcoins might have some legs, or are you of the opinion that one should just stick with the big ones?
Well, I really think it depends on the level of someone's understanding. There's definitely a lot more risk. I remember when I was first looking at Bitcoin and learned about Dash and some of the others and how much better the technology was, whether it was how fast a transaction goes through or private send or just different things. And of course, privacy is very important, especially when you're talking about an open ledger where they can see the deposits coming in. For instance, if you're getting paid weekly, they could see how much money you're making or where you spent in the past if you use an address that's publicly posted online or part of some database that someone has access to. So, I got really, really excited about the altcoins. But, when it really comes down to it, I think, as things progress with mass adoption, if you look at what ICE's backed exchange is focusing on and some other really big players, it usually hits Bitcoin and Ethereum, and there might be a few others, but I think probably the safest route, if someone wanted a little bit more exposure and they like the idea of a smaller market cap than something like Bitcoin, which is absolutely massive compared to just about anything else, is to work with exchanges like Coinbase or Kraken or something where if a coin is on there, it's gone through so much scrutiny. But when you go to even, Binance is a great platform, but they accept a lot of coins. And I think probably for most people, they should look at the major exchanges. Gemini is another one. But regardless of what you get into, even Bitcoin itself is very risky. I think about AOL. They were the titan of yesterday, and they fell. And we all know that Bitcoin doesn't necessarily have the best technology. It's more just the most robust network and most adopted, and that's really what's putting it in the spotlight.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case. So for those that feel like they could benefit from what cryptocurrencywire.com does, who do you think those people are, and how do they get a hold of you?
Well, they could definitely go on the website. We're also on Twitter, pretty popular there. CryptoNetWire is our handle there. Definitely reach out. We have a bunch of different ways that we can work with you. We also work with a lot of conference partners. Definitely check them out. It can be difficult to pick the right ones because of what is said online. That might not always be true. But we'd love to meet with you at any of the conferences that we're at. But feel free to reach out. We're always open to new ideas.
Jonathan Keim, cryptocurrencywire.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.